popularity of the new administration quickly spiraling downwards in the face of blatant nepotism and an unabashed pro-Ashcroft agenda, while food assistance and unemployment relief are callously ripped away from the struggling masses in the midst of the pandemic, this government desperately needed a distraction, and it sought to create one, a commission of inquiry into some so-called fire sale of public assets in the closing days of the last administration. And for sensational effect, the former Prime Minister would be summoned as the first witness. Well, the manufactured inquiry would produce absolutely no sensation. Instead, here are the three notable facts that emerged. First, there was no fire sale of public assets. To the contrary, all three witnesses, the former Prime Minister, the Financial Secretary, and the head of government's Assets and Utilities Management Unit, would testify, corroborate, and document that there was a deliberate decision by the outgoing administration not to dispose of functioning vehicles because of the COVID-19 related financial constraints on the public finances, which would make it particularly difficult for new vehicles to be procured by a new administration.
Indeed, because we were aware that it was more likely than not that people would be making these requests, the Financial Secretary and I discussed this, and we thought we better launch a preemptive strike. The Financial Secretary therefore wrote a letter with my endorsement and blessing to the Cabinet Secretary to say, let ministers, chief executive officers, whoever comes next, there will be no money for replacement vehicles. So we will sell to outgoing ministers and chief executive officers no vehicle.
We had a discussion because of the state of affairs the country is in.
Yes, about not selling the vehicles.
That we will not sell any vehicles. And that we need to retain the vehicles that the past administration ministers were driving, for the new government, whichever government will come in.
Leading up to the election, we did retain several, didn't sell them. Requests had come in from ministers, requests had come in from CEOs, retained, sell, except ones mentioned. We didn't sell them, and we had in the yard 19 vehicles that were running and operating, and those were turned over to the new government. But my directive was dated from July.
Secondly, the former Prime Minister only approved verbally or in writing the sale of 3 serviceable vehicles during that period. 1 to a retiring judge, 1 to a retiring senator, and 1 to a minister. And all 3 were sold at prices higher than the value assessed by the Customs Department, something that was not unusual given the frugal nature of the Financial Secretary.
Because the Financial Secretary was no easy fellow. He would decide, I don't like the customs valuation. I want to sell them for more than the customs valuation. And I would not have any difficulty with that.
Thirdly, believe it or not, it is under this new administration that various requests are now being made for purchase of valuable government assets, as the head of the Assets and Utilities Management Unit testified.
Even now, we have CEOs who have come and they have put on my desk requests for items. And I have sent that to the Prime Minister's office, and it's been there for the past 2 or 3 weeks. Not signed, I cannot give it up, and I will not let go of it.
So, after day 1 of the manufactured inquiry, here's the conclusion. No fire sale of public assets under the UDP. In fact, a deliberate decision to retain working vehicles for the new administration. And yes, it is under this new administration that countless CEOs and ministers are now seeking to acquire for themselves government assets. So, the unfounded allegations having been quickly disposed of, let's get back to what really matters. When will Prime Minister John Briceno call his overdue first press conference, which he still has not done almost 100 days after assuming office, to report and answer questions on the state of the nation and the wrong-headed policies of his administration? This is what inquiring minds would certainly want to know.